In the quiet village of Kera, in western Burkina Faso, surrounded by dry fields and worn-out paths, a boy was born in 1988. No one imagined then that this child would one day become the youngest president in the world. His name was Ibrahim Traoré. Ibrahim came from a modest family. His father was not a politician. His mother wasn't from a wealthy lineage. Like many in Muhun province, they lived off the land and worked hard just to survive. There was no luxury in his home, only discipline, prayers, and the weight of expectations. Even as a child, he didn't talk much. He was the kind of boy who watched more than he spoke, quiet, observant, and calm. At school in Bondokui, teachers quickly noticed him. He wasn't just smart, he was focused. He didn't joke around much. He didn't fight for attention. He simply got things done. Later, in Bobo Dioulasso, where he attended high school, he remained the same. Calm, sharp, and different from most of his peers. But something began to grow inside him, a sense of injustice. He hated unfairness. When teachers punished students wrongly, he spoke up. When other kids were bullied, he stepped in. People said even then he carried himself like someone older, someone who felt responsible even when he didn't have to. After secondary school, he chose to study geology at the University of Ouagadougou. Not a glamorous course, but it made sense to him. He wasn't chasing fame, he was chasing understanding. While there, he joined student unions, including the Marxist-influenced ANEB. He wasn't loud, but when he spoke, people listened. Calm but firm, he challenged unfair school policies and organized protests. Friends called him the Calm Fire. Then, in 2009, he shocked many by joining the army. Why would a brilliant geology student pick up a rifle? But to Traoré, the reason was simple. His country was under threat. Terrorist groups were gaining ground. The people were scared. He felt duty-bound to help. He trained at the Georges Namoano Military Academy, then went to Morocco for anti-aircraft training. When he returned, he was deployed to Kaya in the north, where extremist attacks were growing. It was one of the toughest assignments. Many soldiers gave up. Traoré stayed. He led operations with grit and precision. He was on the front line during the 2019 Otapuanu offensive, one of the most serious anti-terror campaigns. He saw firsthand how poor leadership, corruption, and lack of equipment cost lives. In 2020, he was promoted to captain, earned, not handed. More and more soldiers began to rally around him. They respected him not because he talked tough, but because he listened, planned, and stood by them. Many felt their sacrifices were being wasted by distant generals and political leaders living comfortably in the capital. In January 2022, President Roch Kabore was overthrown by a coup led by Lieutenant Colonel Paul-Henri Damiba. Many hoped this would change things, but the killings continued. The insecurity worsened. Disappointment followed quickly. Traoré watched, waited, then acted. On September 30th, 2022, he and a group of junior officers staged a second coup. It was quick. Damiba was removed with little resistance. This time, the people cheered, not because they loved coups, but because they were tired of dying in silence. At just 34, Traoré became the world's youngest head of state. But he refused luxury. He didn't move into a grand palace. He wore his uniform, slept among his soldiers, visited the wounded, walked the same ground his men did. He also started changing foreign policy. He welcomed ties with Russia and other non-Western countries, declaring Burkina Faso free to choose its allies. It shocked the international community, but at home, people applauded. Still, challenges remained. The violence didn't disappear. Terror groups still attacked villages. Thousands stayed in displacement camps. Critics worried about rising authoritarianism. Media outlets were suspended. Political parties banned. Elections were delayed until 2029. Traoré defended these moves. He said elections would only recycle the broken past, that rebuilding a country required time and stability. Some believed him, others didn't. But one thing was clear: he was not like other leaders. He rarely left the country, didn't go abroad for medical treatment or UN speeches. He stayed on the ground, always in uniform, always near his troops. He restructured military leadership, fired corrupt commanders, and strengthened local defense forces. Under his watch, the Volunteers for the Defense of the Homeland, VDP, once a ragtag militia, grew into a national force. Farmers, students, and former shopkeepers all joined. They weren't well trained, but they had heart. Critics said arming civilians was dangerous. Traoré said there was no other choice. The enemy is inside our villages. He also helped form the alliance of Sahel states with Mali and Niger, a mutual defense pact. It was about security, but also about sovereignty, about Africa standing on its own. Still, cracks began to show. Reports of abuses by VDP units, detentions of journalists, accusations of power concentration. His supporters said he was staying focused. His critics called it authoritarianism. Yet through it all, Traoré remained unshaken. Those close to him say he reads a lot: history, war, philosophy, that he is deeply religious but private, that he doesn't chase comfort or wealth, that he hardly laughs. But his seriousness is what people respect. In the streets of Ouagadougou, murals show his face. In villages, women selling tomatoes whisper, "He's not like the others." Boys copy his hairstyle. To them, he is more than a leader. He's hope. Ibrahim Traoré is not perfect. His journey is far from over. The threats remain. The country still bleeds. He could rise further or fall. History will decide. But today, people remember the village boy who stood up and said, "No more." And sometimes that is how revolutions begin.